in the chat for later. Okay, so we're on. So I am so thrilled to be welcoming here this evening UK time, that is, my very, very close friend, buddy, sister, Denise Lynn, who has been in my life and an enormous influence in my life for the last 30 odd years. So I'm Lynn Franks. This is Lynn Franks in Conversation with Extraordinary Women. And Denise is one of the most extraordinary women I know. So welcome, Denise, from Northern California, where,
hey.
Yes, and here we are. So what time is it with you? You're about 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's a beautiful morning here in sunny Northern California. We had frost this morning. It was 27 degrees, which I think doesn't equate, but it's cold, which was really nice.
And the fires have stopped finally?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now I'm still in the cleanup mode. There was so much ash that somehow that ash it's fettered its way to the tiniest little corners. So it may be months before I get rid of it all.
Oh my God.
But today is good. Just taking a day at a time.
Day at a time. And well, it's been pouring with rain, certainly in my part of the world today. Not the nicest weather. But we are coming through, as a number of people have been describing, and you and I have discussed, into a very different time, which I know you've got lots of thoughts you're going to share with us a bit later, with this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction and the solstice on the 21st. So I'm so thrilled that you could be here on the 18th as we build up to this very, very important time. But first of all, I want to talk about you and a little bit about you and me, because I have to say you are, and I've been thinking a lot about this today anyway, but it's always in my thoughts. You're one of the most generous friends I've ever had in my life. You have truly not only brought so much into my life, knowledge and experience, got me to do my very first workshop with you, which I'll never forget, which was called Passion. And when you went into your meditation, I, as always, lay on the floor ready to receive, and you went, "You're supposed to be holding the space." The things that I learned. I mean, that was a long, long time ago, I have to say. And you introduced me to Hay House, and we've had some funny experiences in our times, going to other people's workshops. A very large man who should remain nameless. We went on Tony Robbins together. When I got in an argument with him, you were straight outside making sure I was all right. You have just been amazing, and we've had funny times when we've gone into, when I was living in California, when we obviously saw a lot more of each other. And although we don't see each other or speak so often now, because we have got a big time difference, as you have said, and as I've said many times, still the synchronicity in our lives is always amazing. And we have the same birthday, although I have to admit you are younger than me, but on the 16th of April, a year younger. The 16th of April, looks a lot younger. We are celebrating, as always, our birthday together. So that's great. And I am so, so pleased you're here. You have the most amazing following, reputation. You've traveled all over the world. You have delivered workshops, talks, seminars, retreats to thousands and thousands and thousands of people. You've got 27 books out. Is it 27? No, 17 books, 25 countries. And, whenever I go onto anything you're doing, I just see this following of people that you have that have followed you like I have for so many years. So you were really my first teacher, introducing me to the kind of different way of thinking, living, breathing, the sort of more esoteric way. And I was trying to think, somebody actually asked me in the seed store yesterday, well, who is Denise Lynn? Somebody who's obviously been way out of touch with anything that's going on said, what does she do? She's a healer. And I was thinking, I said, no, she is everything. Apart from anything else, you are one of the most creative people I know, because you bring your creativity into your work. But I was thinking, how would I describe you? You're as an author, you're a teacher, but how would you describe yourself? Difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess I love the fact that people have gotten, is this okay?
Yes, we can hear perfectly.
Yeah. I love the fact that people have gotten value from the things I've shared, but I've never looked at myself as a teacher. I've looked at myself as someone who is, I guess I'm on a quest, but it's a personal quest of finding what is valuable for me, what is allowing me to grow, to understand at a deeper sense of my place in the universe. And and I've shared that with people, and it's so wonderful that people get value, but I've never seen myself in that role. If I had to describe myself, I would say I'm not so much a seeker, because I pride myself on finding. Some people are professional seekers and they never find, but yeah, I guess a seeker who finds. That doesn't
That's
sound very
yeah.
good, but that's
Well, I suppose I'm the PR, so I would say, I mean, you are you are a shaman. I know that you would never call yourself that, but you
no,
are, and we're going to
I
talk a little
wouldn't,
bit
but
about
I
your
don't.
background. But you are, because shamans create magic and they connect with land, and they use very traditional tools, whether they be drums, feathers, all the stuff that all the natural tools that you organically use. And have used since you started your extraordinary career. And I said, there's lots of people now that go around ringing a lot of bells and calling themselves shamans, but you truly are a shaman. You're a space holder for so many others. I've had so many extraordinary experiences in your workshops, and of course, so have many, 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 many thousands of people. And I know, because we're close friends as well, that you don't see just how amazing you are. And I see some very young people who are now sort of holding workshops and giving themselves, unlike you, all sorts of titles and roles. And I look at you, and you were doing this before anybody. You were doing ceremony, you were doing traditions, you were bringing in a whole new way of thinking. And of course, I mustn't forget when I went on one of your retreats after I first did a workshop with you in London, first time I met you, having read about you in the paper, and I went to this workshop and I couldn't walk. I was so stressed out. I was on a walking stick, and this was 35 years ago or more, and I couldn't even stand up. And by the time we finished the workshop over 2 days, I was literally spinning around the room dancing to drums, forgetting that I even supposed to have a bad back. So I know, and your transformational skills are amazing. And then I went over and joined you in Seattle, and I took my husband and my ex-husband and my 2 children who are now adults, with another friend, of course, Johnny Rozier, and we had the most amazing retreat with you, about 2 weeks in the mountains there. And you got
riding and river
oh
rafting
my
and
God,
sweat lodge and drumming. Yeah, that's
and
great.
jumping off rocks into tiny pools hundreds of feet below. Totally scary. Come on, face your fear, face your fear. You can do it. And then afterwards, you told me that you had totally felt your fear too. But you got me doing things I never thought I would do. And it was an amazing experience for all of us. I think it changed our whole family life. And although my son changed after that, at that time he's about 14 or 15, I remember he went back to school in England and was talking about how he could move the clouds. And got so many laughs back from friends that he stopped doing it, but he was totally into it. You are a shaman, there's no question about it. So tell us a little bit, for those who don't know, of your story. I'll shut up and you tell us your story, because you come from a background of First Nation people, although you weren't brought up. So over to you. Tell us about your upbringing.
As you mentioned, my mother, not my father, but my mother is, or was, now in spirit, was Cherokee Native American, and my father was of Scottish background. But I was not raised on a reservation. And even though my mother was raised in a spiritual tradition, she was a scientist. And I think in those days, if you were Native American, you were a second class citizen. It was decades after the blacks in the United States got the vote. It wasn't even until I think 1967 that all Native Americans got the vote. So, so there was a lot of discrimination. So I think part of her focus on scientists was to get credibility. And so both my parents were scientists and they were atheists. And so I was raised, if you cannot prove it scientifically, it doesn't exist. And when I was 17, I had a little motorbike, and we lived in Ohio, which, the Ohio is like the farming center, well, not center, but it's a farming area in the United States, kind of in the middle of the United States. It's flat, lots of corn and soybeans. I had a little motorbike, and I'm putting along. And what I didn't know was I was being followed by someone. He was like a mass murderer. And I didn't know this guy. And in the kind of an isolated area of the road, he rammed into my motorbike. And I flew off the motorbike. I skidded across the road, and I was trying to get up, and I saw him turning around. I thought, oh, he's coming back to help me, because I couldn't imagine why someone would hit me with their car, because it seemed like he did it on purpose, which he did. And then he came back and he rolled the window down, and I saw him pull out a gun. And it's just like it's slow motion, everything seems to go so slow. And I couldn't understand, why is he aiming a gun at me? This was Ohio, it's like kind of maybe the countryside little town in England. You just don't expect that kind of thing. And he shot me. Some other things happened. I was eventually left for dead, and a farmer found me and took me to the hospital. And in the hospital, the doctors thought I'd died. In fact, someone who was in the waiting room said a doctor came out and said I died. I find that hard to believe, but anyway, they had said, we lost you. I remember what happened. I remember leaving my body. I remember going to this place. It was so beautiful and radiant and familiar. It was like, oh my God, I'm home. I was so happy to be home, and this sense of infinite love and not being separate from anybody or anything. Everybody here, we were all there. Even if your body's here, we were there, and we were connected. And here's the crazy thing. There was a sense of being one, but also individual. And here I can't conceive of how can you be one and individual, but there it was natural, and there was no time. Everything was now. I can't conceive of that here, but there it was like, of course, everything is now. And this infusion of love, but that was familiar. This was the dream. And then there was a voice, hear about the voice that says, you can't stay, you got to go back. And I got yanked back into my body. It was really damaged. I lost my kidney, my spleen, an adrenaline gland, good part of a lung, part of my intestines were removed, part of my diaphragm was removed. There's still a hole through my spine because the bullet actually made a hole through my spine. It's about that big. You can still see it on the X-ray. And a 6-inch tube was put in to replace the aorta. So they said, well, there's no way she's going to live. It was a miracle she came back from the dead, but with all this damage, she's not going to live very long. But something happened on the other side. It's like inside of each of us is this ember, and it's an ember that remembers who we are, and it's also an ember that can activate healing. And it was almost like those moments, like the warm winds of heaven just kind of whispered over that ember, and it became a flame, and the flame made all the difference. The doctor said, it's a miracle, because I still don't have a kidney or a spleen or, a full lung on that side. I mean, I'm still missing all the stuff, but something got activated. And I also began to see what we call now energy. I didn't know what it was. I saw lights around trees and grass and people, and I heard sounds and music other people didn't hear. My life changed. And I didn't, in Ohio, little tiny farming community, there was no one to talk to. The couple of people I tried to talk to about this, they just said, well, it's the drugs. But I knew it wasn't the drugs. And I knew what I experienced wasn't the drugs. So this event, and I'm sorry for going on for so long, but it's important because the awareness that came out of that was that, first of all, this reality isn't the only reality. And in fact, there is a greater reality that is, in fact, our home. And I think everybody remembers, maybe not consciously, but if you've ever had that longing and you don't even know what you're longing for, this longing, I'm going to suggest you're longing for home, and that's home. And everyone has this ember inside of them that can activate healing and inner truth and awareness. So from that point, I went on a quest. It doesn't mean my life was easy. I had a lot of childhood trauma. Getting shot was nothing compared to that early traumatic family stuff. So it wasn't easy, but I had strategies and an understanding that allowed me to continue forward. Like, it wasn't easy. I had a couple suicide attempts in there, but at the same time, I knew there was a way to get back to that place, and I desperately wanted to go home. And I knew there was a way to get there without dying. Everything I teach, everything I do is creating sacred space so that you can get there, and you can have that veil can be opened, and you can have that experience of being home and be here. And one of the reasons why I'm so excited about where we are now, and Lynn and I are going to be talking about this point in history and the solstice coming up, and the veil being thin right now, is it's so much easier to step into that place. It's so much easier to activate that place. And when you do that, it makes all the difference. So I don't know if that's what you were looking for when you wanted to know
It's certainly what I think it's important for people to hear that part of your story. And I'd also add in that in your search before you started teaching and healing and doing work with others, you were living in a monastery, Buddhist monastery for quite a time.
Right.
You studied with shamans and medicine men, and particularly with men actually, and leaders, medicine men leaders around the world. Really, you had the most amazing training. And I said this to you, we spoke the other day, and I said, do you not feel that in a way we and others, and particularly you, have been in training for what is about to happen now? It's almost like we chose to be born. You chose to come back into your body. Your 17-year-old self was told to come back because you had work to do. And I think for all of us, and I'm sure for everybody listening to this, because we all come together because we're brought together by this synchronicity and this energy that we can't even say what it's about, but we're attracted to exactly where we're supposed to be. And that is all about coming to this moment now. So I'd like to bring that into the conversation with you now, what your feelings are about what's going on.
I completely concur. And it started, I don't know, it started early summer. I began to get images, and this awareness began to grow in my dreams and in my meditations of this crack between the worlds. And it felt like this crack was widening, and it was going to continue to widen for a while. And then in next spring, it was going to start to close. And the thing that was so powerful about the crack between the worlds is it offered us the opportunity, as I said, to be able to step through into those mystical realms in a way that we haven't been able to do before. And I would say it's not just me who's been in preparation for this time. I think we all have.
Yeah.
Every person listening to this Zoom call, every person that is hearing us talk, you have been in preparation. Your life experiences have brought you to this place. It's a powerful time, and people say, it's been so bad. It's been such a bad time. But from a spiritual perspective, and the image I've been using lately for myself anyway, is if you imagine a savanna in Africa, and it's dry, it's parched, but there's a water hole, but the water holes become stagnant, and everything depends on that water hole. And the first 6 inches, they look pretty clear, but the water is dying. And the crocodile gets in there, and people, and the crocodile starts swimming through the water hole, and it looks terrible. It's all churned up, and it's, it's chaos. And people have talked about this last year of being chaotic. It's like with social structures and political structures and environmental structures and the pandemic and the economy, everything. It looks churned up and chaotic. But what happens with that alligator in the water is it aerates the water. And by doing this, it brings new life to the water hole. And when the water hole is alive, life is sustained. To me, we've had the alligator, the spiritual alligator has come through, and it's thrown everything. Structures are falling down. Old beliefs are disseminating. Things that have been hidden are coming to the surface. But from a personal point of view, there's a spiritual opportunity, because we are not separate from what's occurring out there. So I'm going to suggest that within you are old structures, old beliefs, old limitations that are starting to come to the surface to be skimmed off, the way cream comes to the surface to be skimmed off. It is a powerful time. And I personally am going to use this solstice to ignite a whole new cycle in my life. I've been encouraging everybody, just clear out as much as you can. You've got 3 days now before, is it 3 days? You've got,
Monday, 3 days.
Yeah. Even 5 minutes of clutter clearing can make a difference. We'll do some meditations later in our time to take a look at what you can do between now and the solstice. I mean, you can do things afterwards, but that is a very high peak of energy to clear out, to prepare, clearing out the old to prepare for a new cycle. And it's not just any old new cycle, it's the new cycle for the rest of your life. So it's a really important time.
Yes, I agree. And when you're talking about clutter, and I know you're going to go into it more, you're talking about every aspect of clutter in your life, whether it's people or
outer clutter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you were also the first person that I ever knew that was teaching about clearing clutter and feng shui and clutter coaching. And the other, which is you've had huge amounts of people do your workshops and courses from all around the world who now become coaches in their own right, and soul coaching, which is a huge part of your work. And I just thought maybe you'd like to explain about the soul coaching work that you've done, because it's been so powerful for so many people.
I think the soul coaching came out of my feng shui work. I wrote the second book ever written in English about feng shui. When I wrote about it, no one had ever heard that word before. And I coined the word space clearing, wrote some books on space clearing, and now there's thousands of feng shui and space clearing books. So I began to, when I was teaching in Hong Kong, is when I first heard of feng shui. And then every culture I spent time in as I was traveling, and the native cultures, I would talk to the elders. Every culture had a form of how can we orient ourselves in our home. So not only are we at home in our physical house, but we're become home in the universe. So I wrote about these in a book called Sacred Space, and later Feng Shui for the Soul, and then about space clearing, where I shared a lot of these native traditions in those books. And I began to certify people to do this for others. And again, I wrote the second book, so this was way back there when no one had even heard of this. But what I found is those practitioners, and I'll talk about myself, I would go in and work with people with the feng shui of their home and the energy of their home. But what I found is the key component was that interpersonal component, was actually creating a space for a person to tap into the truth of their soul. And the soul loves the truth. The soul loves the truth, and the soul knows the truth. So rather than saying, oh, I can see you need this agua is out of sorts and you need this, and you start shifting things around, I would allow a person to go deep inside and find out, what do I need? How best can I get there? What is my spiritual journey? What is my destiny? And when you would ask and answer those questions, then miracles would abound. So out of that, I created something called soul coaching, where it was training people to be coaches, but not most coaches are like motivation, inspiration, get the job done, get the raise, get the better job, which is great. It's great to have someone motivate you and inspire you. But for me, a deeper way of working is in a safe and sacred space, allowing your client to move into the stillness of the soul, because everything is there. You know what you need. You know what you need. And so that's where soul coaching came, and I wrote some books on it, and I actually don't train people to do feng shui or space clearing or soul coaching anymore, because I've trained some extraordinary teachers who are much better than me. So I've just kind of turned it over to them, and I love that. I think that means I'm a good teacher. If I train people to be better than me, I've done my job. So I don't take it as an insult that they're better. I take it as an honor. Oh my God, they're doing so much better than I am. So there you go.
It's not that they're doing so much better than you are. It's that you are constantly growing into new directions. And like me, being impatient Aries who love new ideas, we're always moving on to the next one. But on that, I mean, I love you too. There's one of
Let me tell you, okay, you have said what I have added to your life. Let me tell you what you've added to my life. You are a rule breaker in the best possible way. And I have always, okay, in high school, I got voted nicest. Do you know what you have to give up to be voted nicest? Nice was my strategy, my survival strategy. And it's a survival strategy that it cuts away at your life force. It diminishes your life force, because you're always trying to acquiesce to the needs of others. You don't do that. You don't give a heck. It's like okay, a little bit like a bull in a china shop, where I would be, okay, I won't touch it. I'll be careful. I won't. And I'd like this, and you're like, what the hell? I'm a bull. This is a china shop. And there were times when I would go, oh my God, did she just say that? Oh my God, did she just do that? But I realized you were inspiring me. You were inspiring me to speak my truth and break the rules and, and care less. I still care a lot, but, and I know you care, but it hasn't stopped.
Well, you're more polite than I am.
I am a lot more polite.
You are. But on the other hand, I think people love me anyway because I tell them, they know I come from my heart.
Because people love authenticity. And what I found for myself is I began to, God, when was it? About 20 years ago, I got a cancer diagnosis. And they said, we want to do surgery right away. And I said, no, I actually need time. I need a month just to process. They said, we don't want to give you a month. I said, I need a month. And in that month, I did lots of deep, and I said, is it possibly not cancer? They said, no, it's cancer and you've got it in 2 places. I did a lot of deep
I remember.
work. And the biggest thing I found that contributed to that cancer diagnosis was being polite, being nice. And I made a choice. It's like, that's it. I'm going to be a bitch. And
I'm not a bitch.
I really was embracing my inner bitch. And I went back a month later, they could not find any cancer.
I remember.
And what was amazing, I thought, I'm going to lose friends left and right. I got more friends and the relationships were deeper. And so it is true. I am nicer than you. And that doesn't make, that's not better or worse. In fact,
you were. I think you've toughened up, actually, personally. since the Zoom, we won't go into that conversation. But I think you got a lot tougher.
You have amazing friends. You have an amazing life, and I would look to you as someone who would be strong, speak her truth, and be deeply and profoundly loved. And I thought, that childhood programming of thinking I've got to be nice, I don't need to. And I would look at you and say, I would look at your amazing friends, your amazing life, and think, hey, I can be this and do this. I will survive. And so anyway.
And I'll learn to be nicer. But on the oh my God, I wish we lived nearer. We've also done some really fun things, like gone to, I don't even know what to call them really. Well, the Optimum Health Centre, when we go regularly. When I was in California, we decided we'd go and detox together. And we spent most of the time shopping, didn't we? Rightly. In Target.
What you do is you drink a whole lot of wheatgrass juice. You don't eat food, and you get a lot of colonics.
And then you go and do a lot of shopping in the nearest shopping mall. So
you inspired me to shop because I was raised.
Well, I'm not going to get the blame for your shopping. You've always shopped.
I would get something, and if I would buy a piece of clothing, I'm looking at 20 years. This is going to last me 20 years. I could remember going shopping with you where the pile would be so high, I couldn't see you behind the pile.
Well, that's a slight exaggeration.
I was like, where's my friend Lynn?
That isn't it. Well, I know what you're talking about. It's when I stayed with you in Seattle and I did do a lot of shopping. But I have to say, Denise, that you have always been a shopper. Don't blame me.
I have to have a piece of clothing, and it didn't. And now I'm a good shopper. And I owe that to you.
I have to tell you that every time I would see you in London, when you were on your way back from some exotic place where you've been delivering workshops, you always had suitcases full of the most beautiful textiles, fabrics, artifacts from Africa. I did not introduce you. I may have got you buying a few more clothes.
You inspired me. You were the flame to my wick.
We both.
With a shopper waiting to come into being.
Well, I can't wait for you to come over and shop in my shop. Now I have a shop, which actually takes the temptation away to do all the shopping, because I've actually got the shop myself, which is rather enjoyable. I must.
Love those candles. Are those candles in your shop?
The coloured candles, they are not actually in my shop, but we do have gorgeous candles. I've got the seed candles in my shop. We do have amazing candles. We have all sorts of fun things, actually. You'd love it. Just your taste. I should walk around one day with you on the iPad and show you. So anyway, to get back to what we were going to talk about. So I wanted to talk to you about past life and the experience I had in one of your workshops once, which wasn't past life, but the connection that I went into when you sort of took us into an altered state. I mean, past life regression, again, was not something you named. You never said, I'm going to now take you into a past life. But your meditations are so powerful that people would go and have connections with their past lives. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? And then I'm going to talk about the experience I had in one of your workshops, which really was fundamentally transformational in every way.
Well, to take a step back about past lives, for many years I worked as a healer, and I had a private practice on Union Street in San Francisco. And I was a pretty darn good healer. I'd get booked up to a year in advance because I was one of those healers. I'd like, you're healed, put my hands on people. But at the time, I thought I was doing people a favor. I thought that was a really good thing to do, to take away their symptoms. Later, I realized that if a person doesn't go to the source, you can take the symptoms away, but whatever ignited those symptoms, whatever thought form or belief or past experience ignited those experiences, if you didn't go to the source, either those symptoms or other symptoms would come up. But I didn't know that at the time. I thought, oh, I have this gift and I'm helping people. But I remember a couple of times someone would come back and say, well, I'll say, my sore shoulder's back. And I'm thinking, it's been gone for a year. Why is it back? And someone had said, well, sometimes challenges come from early childhood. So I thought, oh, I'll take people back to early childhood and we'll see if we can figure out what the challenge is. And so I began regressing people back to early childhood, which was amazing because often we make decisions and judgments when we're like 2 and 3 years old that last our entire life. And there's ways to reweave them and rework them. So I thought I was taking a woman. She had ulcers. She'd been to everywhere. Nothing had worked. I was a last resort. So I took her back into what I thought was early childhood. And she said, my husband's enemies are poisoning me. And I'm like, I knew she'd never been married. I thought, what's she talking about? She had spontaneously gone back to a past life where her husband had some very unpopular political beliefs. She knew he was wrong, but she was disempowered as a woman, so that she felt disenfranchised. There was nothing she could say or do. He went traveling. His enemies came, and they forced her to drink poison, which ate holes in her stomach and killed her. And she died feeling a lack of power and disempowered. So in this life, she was in some situations at work where she felt disempowered, the exact same emotional feeling, and it manifested from the same way it did in that past life. Does that make sense? And I
Yeah.
realized that you can change, just like you can change the way you view your childhood. There are actually ways to change the past and really change it. I've been studying about, just because I'm fascinated about relativity and time, and I'm working on a time traveler's handbook and creating time traveling meditations. I'm really excited about it. I'm working with my brother who's an astrophysicist.
Wow.
But it's exciting. We're in March. We're going to do a whole 28-day program all about the universe. It's going to be great.
Amazing.
But so from physics, you can take off in a rocket and come back before you left. That's physics. But I realized when it comes to past lives, I mean, we can't do it because we don't have the rocket technology, blah, blah, blah. But it's not alien to physics. That is something that, Stephen Hawking talks about that. So that you can go back into your past life, you can shift the memory. When you shift the memory, you shift the timeline and you can shift your life. So that's how I started doing past lives. And it was amazing. I had people who would be in wheelchairs who could walk after a past life regression. I had a woman who was blind. She got her eyesight back during a past life regression. When I was in London, there was a woman who had hearing aids. She'd had them for 52 years in both ears. During the past life regression, she thought they were both malfunctioning. They both got loud. She pulled them out and she could hear. So these were not miracles. I mean, they looked like miracles. It wasn't like, oh, I healed you. It was like literally going back into the past. You mull over dandelion and say, come up again. But if you go to the source, and you heal it at the source, you can heal it and heal it forever. So out of that came past life regressions. And I'm probably more known for past life regressions in the 25 countries I've taught than anything else. And I do it because it works, because it creates results. And I'm just a junkie for results. I love doing anything that creates results in people's lives.
Yeah, beautiful. So the workshop you were doing in London that I went to, where I had this experience, was been probably 15, 20 years ago. I can't remember. And I hadn't been there for the whole thing. And you said, come round and pop in. And there was about 100, maybe more people that were just going, probably more, going down into lying on the floor and going into this altered state that you're so brilliant about, the way you take people in. And nowhere did you mention anything about Jesus energy, Christ energy generally, the Virgin Mary, nothing. You didn't say anything about that. You just had some music on, and I can't even remember what you were saying. And as I went into this altered state, and I don't always see things, I'm not very visual in that place, I saw without any question the Virgin Mary, like a statue in a blue dress. I don't know if you remember, I couldn't get over it. I still haven't got over it. It was a long time ago. And a sort of white, sort of snood, and she was in front of me, and she didn't open her mouth, but she looked at me with this incredible compassion, which just moved me so much. And I'm a Jewish Buddhist, and here I was having a chat with the Virgin Mary, and I heard her inside me say, "You have work to do. You have work to do. You have a lot of work to do. It is your time. You are here for a reason." And there was more, but I just came, and when slowly came back, as you brought the room back into um, the moment again, it was so deeply entrenched in my DNA of this experience. I've never ever got over it. And when I asked about it, people all over the room had experiences. They were with Jesus. They had this whole Christ energy had been in this room. We were not in a church. We were in some kind of community hall. And people all over from all different backgrounds had not all of them, but a number of them had this extraordinary experience as we were in this altered state that you put us in, just using your voice, using your words, using the music. And I know you do it all the time. I mean, I'm going on about one experience I had, but you are doing this with people all the time. And you are a channel and a vehicle for bringing people into the light. There is absolutely no question about it. Just by working with you and being with you, even when you don't even see it, and I know you're your worst critic, you change people's vibrations. You change them in such a deep way. And I just really want to honor you for that and thank you for that. Because it's incredible work, these thousands of people, because you say you've taught people who are now teaching. You have been this catalyst for so many people who are now themselves leaders and taking change. And as we come to that point, I want to talk about the change, because we were talked about, and you were talking as well about this sort of Jupiter-Saturn thing that's happening and this way we're going forward. But you've recently, in the last couple of years, become a grandmother. I've been a grandmother for a while. And I think that's also something that affects us, changes us in a way, don't you think? It's how we start thinking of the generations to come, and we want a world for our grandchildren to grow up in, and their children and their children's children. If you could vision, because I know how incredibly intuitive and psychic powerful you are, if you could envision how we could be living as we go through this portal, as we go into a more spiritual consciousness, as we vibrate at a higher rate, and we do see science and spirituality coming together, because I think that's absolutely the way it was thousands of years ago, in Egyptian times even. How would you see that? How could you see the world? Well, how is it going to look like? It's a big question.
First of all, could you tell me what you see?
I do see women taking more leadership roles. I do see it being about community, small communities linking with bigger communities. I do see the systems we have now breaking down, thank goodness, because it is time for, whether it be political, economic, in every way, the systems have to go. We do need the technology to stay connected with each other. But at the same time, it really is that think local, act global, so that we share our stories, we share our experiences, we support and learn from each other. We use this circular economy, which is helping the planet, not taking from the planet. In every way, for me, it's about how we can, on a practical level, bring our values, our spiritual vision into reality, and the chance we have now. That's how, I see it as very practical, very pragmatically in a way. Here in my little town where I live, I see the people that already have ended up living here at the same time as me, our mayor, who's on this call actually, and others who are turning this into a sustainable community here in this one little town. That's how I see it.
Many years ago, I spent time in Africa with a man named Cradle Mootla. And Cradle Mootla is the spiritual head of all Zulu. He's a Senoma Sengusi, we would say, a witch doctor, I guess is what Caucasians would say. But a Sengomi Sengusi is a spiritual head and the healer. He is one of the most remarkable human beings I've met. And I was with him in Botswana in his home, which was just literally a mud shack with a packed mud floor. And he's wearing animal skins and big, like stone kind of necklaces. And this man who never had any formal education, any language that anyone had come and visit him, he would start speaking in that language. And when I told, which was amazing, and he had this amazing connection to collective unconsciousness. And when he said, when I told him I was part Cherokee, he said, "Oh, it's interesting about the Cherokee language." Now, this is a man who never had formal education. He's living in a grass hut, a mud hut. And he said, "You have some similar words." And he said, for example, your word Adoda. Well, the word Adoda in Cherokee means father. He goes, "We have that same word, Adoda." And he went on this whole discourse about the connection between the Cherokee language and the Zulu language. So this is someone who was tapped in. At one point, he jumped, and I said, Cradle, what's wrong? And he said, the French just detonated an underground bomb, and he felt it in his body. So he was connected to the consciousness of the planet. He talked about the future, and he said, there will come a time of great change, and it will be the women. And he said, look to the time, and I can't remember exactly when 52 heads of government are women. I should look up my notes. He said so many profound things. But he said, when that comes, the time of the women has emerged, and there will be a complete transformation of the consciousness of the planet. He said it will be the women who bring it about. So this man who is so tapped into collective unconsciousness, so psychic, talked about the time of the women being a time of returning to the intuitive, returning to the collective, where, in the hunter-gatherer, the hunter, he sees his game, he goes for his game, he competes against the other hunter because he's got to get the game. That kind of the patriarchal times, it's moving into the matriarchal times. Let's go together to find where the roots are. Let's support each other in taking care of the children. They're two different cosmologies, not that one's bad or one's good, but we've been so long in this patriarchal tradition of competitive and get the job done. And we are moving into this time of that female energy. And to me, it feels like the saving energy of the future. And it's interesting about this configuration coming up on December 21st. So we've got Saturn, which is constrictive. It's structures. It's old foundations, and it's kind of pulling in. And then we've got Jupiter, which is expansive and creative. And these two planets are closer together than they've been in 800 years. Some people say that's the apocalypse or that's the Christ consciousness. I don't know that, but I do know, and you can probably feel it in the depth of your being, I do know that there's an effect on us. The stars do affect us. And so here they're getting close, they're pulling like this. And it's called the Great Conjunction. This comes about every 20 years. But what is interesting about this particular Great Conjunction is almost always when this Great Conjunction or the Grand Conjunction occurs, it's in a earth sign, earth, structure, grounding, foundations. It's going into 0-degree Aquarius. Now, what does that mean? Aquarius, it's thought, it's communication, but it also speaks of small communities and gathering and higher thought. So 0-degree Aquarius means it's right at the beginning of a new cycle of Aquarius. And you hear people talking about the age of Aquarius. No one can agree when that is, but certainly this configuration on the peak of the solstice is remarkable at 0 degrees Aquarius. Now, to understand the energy of a solstice and why for thousands of years ancient people have honored the solstice is this. If you imagine an incline and you've got a ball and you roll the ball up the incline, it's going up, 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 and then for a millisecond it stops going up and it starts to come down. Well, what a solstice is here's the sun, and we're going around the sun, but we're not going around in a perfect circle. We're going around the ellipse, like an oval. And as the Earth, as the Earth gets to the far end, there's a moment when it's kind of angled. There's a moment when instead of going out, it's coming back. It stops. Time stands still. The crack between the worlds open. It is a sacred, hallowed time, and ancient people have always felt that. So at this exact ancient hallowed time, you have this amazing configuration of these two planets, and they're so close to each other that for some people it will look like one planet. That's how close. You want to look in, from where I live, it's in the southwest sky, just after the sun sets, to look for that so you can see it. but this will have an effect on our consciousness. Also, there's the potential for upheaval. So this is the time to send out your positive thoughts. Encompass our beautiful world with love. One of the things I suggest doing is go onto Google Maps or Google World. I forget what it's called, but anyway, get a picture of the world, and on my computer you can even kind of spin it, which is fun. But see the world, turn the world, and then send energy. It's really good. If you have a globe at home, hold the globe in your hand, send energy, because particularly on the 21st, we're going to need it. I don't know what's ahead, but I can feel this stress coming. It's like the stress of birth. You know, when you're going through that birth canal, it's like you're feeling squeezed, 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 and then there's a liberation. So that's the energy that's ahead for us. And I'm so glad we had this opportunity to talk about it. And I'm sorry, I got carried away.
You're not carried away. Do you know that there's this? Have you got something dangling in the sunshine? Because the whole time you were talking, then there's this beautiful rainbow light was on your face. It's still there, actually.
Oh, I can see it.
Yeah. Thought maybe some of the spirits had moved in already. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much. And you know, the wisdom has been there for many centuries that this time was coming. You know, the ancient people and the ancient cultures have seen this time coming, and now we're here, and it's a real. I feel it's a real honor to be alive in this moment, and to be one of the wisdom keepers, one of these women here that is like you and like others on this call who will be moving forward to create, and we will create it by holding the vision. That's the most important thing. And at this moment, I feel it's a good time to ask you to lead us into a meditation if you're ready to do that. And then when we come back out, we'll there's some questions probably have come in, but we'll do see if there's any questions. I imagine people will just be not doing questions, they'll just be enjoying this fantastic state of altered being that you will take them in. It's so weird. This, can you see the light on you?
Yeah, I saw it. And when you said it, I wasn't looking at myself, I was looking at you. And so it's like, yeah, it's kind of an interesting coincidence, isn't it?
Doesn't surprise me. It's the colors of the candles that you like. It's like reflective. It's the colors of the candles behind me that you liked. It's the colors on your head. It's color. It's the color that we need. Okay, so so I'll over to you.
All right. Well, let's do a meditation, and I love doing meditations because it kind of takes us into that soulful place. And let's do this meditation for the solstice. And even if you're listening to this after the solstice, and the inner realms, you can go backward and forward in time. You'll be able to access the solstice energy, even if it's a month down the road. So don't think, oh, it's past, I can't do it. Yes, you can. Because when you step into the inner realms, time is fluid. It ebbs and flows and ripples. And so just take yourself to that time. So if you would join me in taking a very deep breath and allowing your eyes to close. And take just a moment to tune in to what you're feeling and experiencing it right now. What is real right now? What are you feeling emotionally? It's not bad, it's not good, it's just simply the truth. What is the truth? Allowing it to be. Scan your physical body. What is the truth? How are you feeling right now? What is real? It's not bad. It's not good. It's simply the truth. Breath in, breathing in, and exhale. And with every exhalation, you can feel your shoulders dropping. With every exhalation, you can feel those muscles in your forehead relaxing. With every exhalation, you're aware of your thoughts just beginning to drift and float. The way thoughts drift and float on a warm summer afternoon. Letting go. You are safe. Letting go. Surrendering. You are not surrendering to something outside of yourself. You are surrendering to spirit within. You are surrendering to the divinity within. You are surrendering to that secret, sacred place within, the resting place of your soul. Everything else is dropping away. You are safe. That's good. So very, very relaxed. In your mind's eye now, imagine yourself someplace where you feel safe, someplace that feels good. For some, it's along a tropical seashore. For others, a high vantage point on a mountain or in a meadow or by an alpine lake. For some, it's a log cabin in the woods with a fire roaring and a soft, comfortable chair. For others, it might be a high plateau on a warm night under the stars. Find some place in your imagination that feels good, that feels safe, and imagine yourself, visualize yourself there. Don't be concerned if you're not visual. Just get a sense or a feeling of this place. And as you do, no matter where you are, you place your awareness on the stars, on the heavens. Even if you're indoors, you can still place your awareness on the heavens. You are a part of a loving universe. There is a star that is your star. You have a place in the universe. And in this moment, you can sense and feel your awareness expand, expanding into the earth, expanding out in all directions, and expanding up to the stars. It's as if you can hear the songs of the stars, one great, beautiful celestial symphony. It's as if this symphony is emerging within you. You are a part of this symphony, of this chorus. Your cells are singing. You can sense the cadence and the rhythm of the earth beneath you. You can sense and feel that rhythm expanding within you. You are at the intersection between above and below, between the light and the dark, between spirit and form. We approach a remarkable time in the linear history of our planet. you are ready. In no small way, you have prepared for this time. It is the ending of one great cycle and the beginning of another. There is power in beginnings. In this moment, as you approach this time, you can sense and feel your heart opening, your spirit expanding. And as if a shimmering, sparkling ray of light from the heavens cascaded down and over you and down into the earth, you can sense and feel this radiance, this shimmering, sparkling light, ebbing and flowing and spiraling into each and every cell in your body. Sense it, feel it, imagine it, and be willing to let go of all that does not serve you. You might say, I've had these beliefs for a long time. I've had these patterns and habits for a long time. That perhaps is true. It is also true that there is an opportunity to simply allow them to drop away, the way leaves drop from the tree in the autumn. You are ready. You would not be here now, listening here now, except that you are ready. As the phoenix rises from the fire, the dross has burned away. You are starting a new cycle. Who do you desire to be? What do you desire to feel? Get the sense of who you are emerging into, what you are emerging into. For in this moment, you are planting a seed at this remarkable time in linear history. A seed for your future, a seed for your destiny, a seed for your life ahead, a seed that will allow you to be a force for good in the months and years ahead. Once that seed is planted, it will take root. It will branch and sprout, flower, and bear fruit for the years ahead. More and more, you accept who you are with gentle kindness and love. More and more, you're open to the voice of spirit. More and more, you know that you make a difference in our beautiful and needful planet. May the Creator within all things bring blessings and peace. So be it, and so it is. And gently and easily, you can begin bringing yourself back to normal waking awareness. You have a remarkable group here, Lynn. I could feel their energy. I could feel their collective energy, their individual energy, and really quite remarkable individuals. It is an honor and has been an honor to be here with these beings.
They are truly wise women, and so grateful, so beautiful, and so perfect, because that is exactly what we're all doing. Is we're planting the seed to our future, the future of the world. And I know that the words that come through you really just come through. And
Yeah, I didn't make that connection, but you're right.
yeah, I did. But I feel quite emotional. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much. So we're kind of at the point of just coming up past 8 o'clock. I did say if there were any questions, but I can't get into them to see what's there because I'm on a different system. So I'm just going to see if there's anything. I'm sure lots of people want to say hello, but I'll just see if there's anything before you go. Okay, so they're all just saying how powerful. Actually, I'm not going to go into some of these questions. I think we're just in a very different place, and it's a very beautiful place. And I don't want to go into anything that's going to take us out of that place. So I think at this point, I'd like to just Samson, who works with me, says she visioned lifting water from the sea and holding it up to a beam of light from the moon. Before you even said there's a beam of light, she feels very tearful. I think Phobo says it's incredibly powerful. I wasn't expecting the shivers and tears streaming down my face. Beverly saying just trying to understand coincidence. Very emotional. Tears from Fiona. A lot of. Feel very emotional myself.
Let me just briefly talk about coincidence and synchronicity. When I was in those moments when the doctors thought I was dead, there were some things that seemed normal there, but were not normal here. One of those things was when I was there was no separation between thought and manifestation. It was instant. Here we get an idea, we get a thought, and then by the time it manifests, it can be a long time down the road. It occurred to me that that realm that I went to isn't like 9 miles up in the sky. That realm, some people call it heaven, the spiritual world, spiritual realm. It's here. It's like if you have a radio and you can turn the dial to rock and roll or to classical, that we have inner dials that can take us closer or farther away from that hallowed place. One of the ways you can tell you're close is synchronicity. You need a pair of, orange gloves for some, I don't know, play you're in. And a friend just calls you up and you think, God, I really need a pair of orange gloves. Do I get white ones and dye ones? And you're thinking that friend calls and says, hey, I was just doing some clutter clearing. I got these orange gloves. You don't need any orange gloves, do you? Those kind of events, you think of someone and they call, those are signs that you are close to that dimension. Your dial is getting very close. And you should celebrate those kind of coincidences and those synchronicities because you are getting close to that realm that we call heaven or the spirit world.
That's beautiful. And I don't know about you or any of you, I'm sure the synchronicity is just getting faster and faster as we vibrate, as we meditate, as we chant, as we come together, as we open up and become more and more conscious of what's going on and conscious of ourselves and our heart. As that's happening, the synchronicity really expands. If you can hear any strange noises, my dog is snoring under the table. Start to cry. But it's the synchronicity is absolutely for me every day something happens. I think, my goodness, that's another coincidence. That's another conversation, as you say, something I'm looking for suddenly appear. It's all extraordinary, and it's about trusting that synchronicity, isn't it? Trusting the messages we're getting. It's just trusting to really, really follow our intuition in a way far more than we've probably ever done, because there's less noise outside in a way, because things have slowed down and we're staying still. And we can hear that inner voice, which you take us to without question. So it's very emotional. I'm so grateful, Denise. We've got a little bit over time, so I probably can bring it to let you go into the sunshine of your day, if it's still sunny out there. That was just beautiful and powerful. And thank you from everybody that's on this call. They, of course, loved it. Denise has a website which talks about her various courses and books. And anything that she's doing is there. I can put that up. I will put it up later. I've got all Denise's books, well, most of them, I think. But the two that I grabbed was her extraordinary oracle cards, which are behind me, which I use all the time. And she's got many, many cards out, but these are just so powerful. Hay House, we've got all Denise's things. And this is, I mean, so varied and such a huge variety of what you do. So this was a cookbook, the Mystic Cookbook. It was done by Denise with her daughter Meadow, who she works with a lot, who I've known also since all our children were little. And amazing about sort of, I mean, I don't know if you want to describe this, but it's incredibly healthy, delicious food, but very much coming from a sacred place. Is that, would you say, for this?
Yeah. What I should tell people is I do have it's free, a free clutter clearing 7-day challenge coming up through Hay House coming up in January. And it's just fun. It's fun to have a whole bunch of people together supporting each other. It kind of lots of miracles happen. So that's coming up. And then in March, I'm really, really excited about this 28-day program. You'll get like 56 guided meditations and about 30 Facebook lives. And it's not very much. We're keeping the price really low. And it's all about the cosmos, kind of being at home with yourself and being at home in the universe. And I'm trying to get some alien experts on, and it's going to be it's going to be fun. So that's coming up too. It's not on the website yet, but that's coming up.
Well, whatever you're doing will be amazing. There's no question about that. I'd love to find time, and I would love to do them too, especially the aliens. And
yeah, come as my guest.
Yeah, no, I'd absolutely love to. And I was just thinking over the years, you know, you did a book on altars. I mean, you make the most beautiful altars. My lovely drum that I use sometimes, that you gifted to me years ago, which was one of your.
That's a nice drum.
Isn't it? You said take your pick, so I did. And I use that a lot and have done for many years in ritual. I mean, you're just so creative. You are a spiritual artist in so many different ways. And I just, again, I'm so grateful for you coming on today. Love you hugely, beyond huge. You can't even imagine how much. Ooh. So a big virtual hug.
I love you. You are one of my best friends in the universe. You inspire me.
Likewise.
To like step it up and be willing just to be present with passion. And I love that aspect of you. And I'm just so honored to, met you guys via the ethers, all the gentle beings and noble, gracious, powerful beings that are here. So we are well met.
Yes. So thank you so much, Denise. I hope you'll come back and meet and talk to us again. I'm sure people here will be definitely coming to find you and be on your courses. And again, I'm still looking at the messages. Beautiful. What a beautiful special evening. Oh, Tamsin, thank goodness, reminds me, who runs our retail, says we're going to be having all the books and card sets in our seed store. So we do sell books in our store actually. So we're going to be having a whole Denise Lynn section, which we're planning. So just to seriously, just really, we're going to have, because we love everything you do. So that's Denise. So that's what Tamsin wanted me to remind everybody, that we will be selling all your things. So thank you again. I'm going to close the meeting. Denise, I would love to speak to you again sometime very soon. Just one-to-one. Just say happy Christmas. You're here and I'm here. At least we're not.
Happy Hanukkah.
And happy Hanukkah and happy all the other holidays, and have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and with your family in your beautiful home. And we will catch up, and I'll speak to everybody else very soon too. We've got our seed party next Wednesday. Everybody's coming in and dressing up, I hope, and we'll be sending you out a reminder, so we'll see each other before Christmas. Okay, huge love and huge gratitude. Bye. Bye.